My name is Nassim Saps.
Let me ask you a question. Has anything ever happened to you that you couldn't explain? That made you feel sort of foolish when you tried to tell somebody about it? Well, if it has, you have plenty of company, as you'll soon see.
And all those entities, it all just started coming together. And what really brought it together was an interview I heard the other day, brought more things together in my life than anything before, but I understand it all now. It all makes sense. And I don't know if I'm sent here from the heavenlies to do battle or to train people to do battle, because, you know, God said that only the violent take it by force. And I have that level of violence in me in a good way now. I can't stand by and let somebody get hit or hurt. I defend those that can't defend themselves. But I do it with the Word of God. I don't do it with... And that is more violence. And I was just teaching Sam, a boy that we've got, that I foster. He's 15 years old, and he was sexually abused and stuff. And I was teaching him the other day about Ephesians 6, and I was trying to explain to him because he couldn't understand the full armor of God, and I couldn't understand it. I just knew you had to have it, but I understood it. You know that when you go hunting or you're hunted, and I know you've never been hunted, but I've been hunted before. When you're in combat, you're being hunted all the time. And when you wear the shoes of the gospel of peace, it leaves a trail to the evil, to the reptilians, to the grays. It leaves a heat signature that you belong to God. It leaves a footprint. The breastplate of righteousness is something that they can look at you and see you in the forward and know that they don't have a chance. The belt of truth is something that they can't stand because it reminds them of where they go. The shield of faith quenches all the lies that I've been told over the years. All the lies have been quenched. And the helmet of salvation is my knowing that I know that I know that I know. And the sword of the Spirit is the words that I use and is my actions. And that right there has defeated every entity that's ever tried to take me down.
I don't know if you have done any interviews before where you have talked this way or not, but I think this is exactly what so many people need to hear. They need to hear you say what you have just said, because you are a soldier extraordinaire, both in the physical and the supernatural realms. I mean, you have dealt with stuff that very few humans have ever dealt with or even realize exist, so you would be an authority on these matters for sure. I so much appreciate you sharing all of this, which confirms my own experiences as well as things that others will greatly benefit from, as we both can confirm we have stared in the eyes of evil and its motive is revenge on Jesus Christ and his remnant. And we also both know that Jesus Christ, and just mentioning the name above all names that every knee shall bow, which is Jesus Christ, causes the evil that we both have experienced to shudder and shake and cower in their own fear, for they know their judgment draws near.
Yeah, the full armor of God is very, very visible to the enemy. And if you have any of it off, he knows that too. And so the gospel of peace is one of, besides the shield of faith and the sword of the Spirit. I'm learning that when you got the armor on, they can't bite you. They can't pierce the armor. And when you, like I said, when you wear the gospel of peace, which is kindness and compassion for your brother and sister. It's defending those that can't defend themselves. It's the powerful reaching down to the powerless. And the gospel of peace leaves a heat signature. And the enemy will not follow you if he sees that footprint. Man, I worked for the reptilians and the Illuminati. I was an enforcer for them. I worked and I went by their rules. And some of the people that I worked for, and I'm sure that Paul works for, we know that they're reptilians. We worked for the devil. And my higher ups, the decisions that were made came from reptilians. They didn't come from human beings. And so I was in a position that I had to enforce the rules of the devil. I had to enforce his rules down there. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. And as a matter of fact, there was a 4-star general that worked under there that I knew was a high priest in the Illuminati. And so all of them bases underground are Illuminati controlled, every single one of them. And they believe that the reptilians are their masters. Even though I had to kill some reptilians, some of them, listen to this. One time they made me go to New York and wait on some containers. And so we went down there, and at first I didn't realize what I was doing. And so they blocked off the street, and it doesn't matter which street it was, but they blocked up the street. And, of course, everybody had binoculars because we were all in camouflage uniforms, and all these officers, including myself, were there. And they helicoptered these containers in, and they put them in the end of the underground subways and sewage systems, and they lifted the lids up, and we were to go down there and make sure that the explosive bolts on the container exploded and let was in there, whatever they were doing out. And I was given what they call a minigun, and it's a machine gun that shoots 6,000 rounds a minute, and we had 4 of them down there. Now we're starting to get worried because they didn't tell us. And when them bolts explode, them containers open, I never got so scared in my life. The reptilians that looked like raptor dinosaurs came coming out by the thousands out of those containers. And we were shooting them as hard as we could to get out of there. And once we got out, they welded the lid shut. And they can't. These were reptilians that they called rogue. They didn't play by the rules, and in their chain of command, they were cast out. And so they're down in those sewer systems today, and I hear all the time about people disappearing and found eaten, and that's what's happening to them. So make no mistake about it that I was working in that chain of command that you were in, only I was what they call an enforcer. We were enforcers, and we kept law and order underground because they're so violent that they didn't want them killing each other, and they didn't want them killing people, but we were expendable. So I had to become very good at what I did, and I had to know very much what I was dealing with down there. So I do understand what you're talking about. And I guess I was just on the worst side of it that you could ever be on. I mean, I'm down there, and even today I'm just so full of anxiety and things. Even though I've got Christ in my life, I still have to battle this thing every day. I got to battle what I know. And I seen a poll on TV the other day, and there's 4 things that bothered me. The 3 things that people were worried about in the United States was who was going to be the president, who was going to bring back the jobs, And what about North Korea? And I looked at my wife and I said, is that what everybody's worried about? Don't they have any clue? Aren't nobody listening to people like me? Don't they have a clue what's right underneath their feet? It blew my mind. And the fourth thing was last year, the most sold Christmas gift in all the world was the Ouija board. And when I was down there, they would have these entities that would disappear. They would just vanish right before your eyes. And they would be like, they could take any form they want, but you really couldn't make out what they were because it was just like a black mass, like a shadow. And they were so dark. The hallways that I walked in where they kept these entities were so dark that when you shined a light, it wouldn't illuminate on anything because the darkness was so heavy. So they had all these lights on, and you could see the light, but you couldn't see it illuminate anything because of the darkness. And they would vanish. And so I asked a reptilian that was a bloodline reptilian of the Illuminati. And those you could talk to because they had power, and they could keep their human form and keep their wits about them. But when you talk to them, you could see and feel the hate that they had for you. Not only do they hate you, they want to be you because they've never lived. They're nothing but death. And so I asked him, why are these things disappearing? He said, because when people summons them with Ouija boards and things, they go.
I've seen that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was told by, well, my mother encouraged me and my brothers to do, is use a Ouija board. Now I want to say right up front, whoever's listening or watching this, never, 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 use a Ouija board, ever. It will destroy your life, your soul, and those that you love, and I cannot emphasize this enough, never, use a Ouija board. But since I was born into an Illuminati family, my mother encouraged us to use a Ouija board and other things in order to practice our psychic gifts. This was direct communications with demonic spirits, and in fact this was direct, and free will allowance, for demonic spirits to enter you, and once they have entered you it is almost impossible to get them to leave. They will destroy your life. I asked the spirit one time, how they knew that we were going to use a Ouija board. They said that where they were it was all dark, which confirms exactly what you are saying, Greg, and that in this extremely dark place, which some call dark light, the light of death, where they exist, these demonic entities and disembodied spirits, where the reptilians, greys, and fallen angels exist underground and in dimensionally shifted locations. They said it was dark, but they would see a light go on when somebody used the Ouija board, and they would have permission and legal authority to go to that light wherever it was in the world. I know that they are liars, but that one was telling the truth. They know when you pick up the board, it summons them.
Hello. Where are we going?
We're going to Area 51.
No, we're not.
Good old boys S7.
Well, I told Paul this one time. Here's what it's like. If somebody came up with an entire dump truck load of salt or sugar and dropped 5 drops of cyanide in it and mixed it up, who's going to take the first scoop? Nobody. Because it only takes that much lye to corrupt the entire truck. And so, once I figured out, okay, and I told my guys, we got serious. We stopped doing the drugs and things because I was commander, and I finally thought to myself, I'm going to take charge now. It's time to take charge because this is serious stuff. And I told them, I said, every word that comes out of their mouth is going to have a lie in it. They can't even tell you who God is, if there is a God. But I can say the word, why can't they say it? But they easily say that they're God, because that's a lie. See, the truth is there is a God. The lie is they say that they're gods.